Welcome back. Before the break, I asked how many phone records involving Americans did the NSA collect in 2016 alone? 54 million, 89 million, 123 or 151 million? The answer, it is the biggest, of course, 151 million. But that was after the clampdown on government surveillance, which at its height collected billions of records per day. Now, The Hill is reporting that newly declassified memos show the NSA and FBI violated our privacy and the law for years during the Obama administration by using unauthorized spying to obtain intelligence on American citizens. Now, on top of that, the NSA reportedly failed to meet their own legal obligation to delete the improperly intercepted communications. So how did President Obama allow all of this to go on? And how many of us have private information just sitting in files at the NSA? Joining me now, Jim Harper, Vice President at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. Welcome back, Jim.
Nice to see you again, Kennedy.
So this was happening under the Obama administration, and as a candidate, he ran in 2008 as someone who was very eager to defend civil liberties against some of the policies during the Bush administration. What happened?
Well, there are one or two campaign promises that President Obama didn't fulfill, and plenty of campaign promises he did that we didn't want him to fulfill. But listen, the real story here is the bureaucracy. People like to forget that the NSA and military agencies are part of the federal government. That's the same government that brings you the post office. So in the post office,
and the TSA and Obamacare.
TSA, long lines and lost parcels at the post office. But here it's invasions of our privacy because of mistakes and violations of the law that's laid out for them by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court.
I don't know if these are necessarily mistakes, and that's what's so disconcerting is I think, there are intelligence agencies who do this wittingly, to use one of James Clapper's words when he testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee. And it's very upsetting. You say the only way there's going to be any resolution is if the Supreme Court at some point intervenes and declares that we own the data that we transmit.
That's right. There's a case coming up before the court very soon called Carpenter, which deals with cell site location information. That's information that reflects where you and I go with our cell phones all the time. The government is trying to access information about a criminal suspect without getting a warrant. But that means that information about all of us would be available to the government without a warrant.
Yeah.
There should be a warrant standard for that information, and a signal from the Supreme Court about that data would tell the three-letter agencies that all this other data is not theirs to ladle out of the internet like a soup. It needs to come after a warrant has been issued.
Yeah, and speaking of operating within the law, part of the FISA law that so many libertarians take issue with, it's that Section 702, and that allows for foreign targets to have some of their communications intercepted when they are speaking with Americans, and the American aspect is supposed to be minimized, but there were violations of that minimization, and there were Americans who were unmasked.
That's right. And you raise a good question. Is it wittingly or is it unwittingly? We don't really get to know in a secret program. And that's another important dimension of this. It all happens in secret. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court doesn't let us in to argue for our privacy. So it's not really a real court. The Congress doesn't do a good job of overseeing it. Maybe that's Congress's fault. The executive branch doesn't do a good job either, and that's evidenced by these documents that we've seen now.
All right, Jim Harper, thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Always going to keep an eye on this just for you.